Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I felt like checking out something a little different today, so this is Space Invaders Extreme. Yes, I am emulating the PlayStation Portable version at 1x resolution. I'm not doing anything fancy with the graphics or anything like that. It looks roughly as it does on that. There is a PC version of this game out, which I haven't bought yet for a few reasons. One, they redid the graphical style, which, in my personal opinion, is slightly worse. I kind of miss the way some of the fonts look on this game. Two, they took the multiplayer out entirely, which I can kind of understand, but at the same time it would have been neat to have it as like a split screen feature. And third, it's always online. Also, apparently they changed out a couple of the songs on the soundtrack, so who knows, maybe this is the best version of the game, or whatever. Plus, you can actually still get this PSP version of the game on the European PlayStation Store, but I don't have a European account that I can easily get it with, at least something that I have set up, so there you go. Whoops, I keep forgetting that the buttons are swapped, because I was playing Space Invaders Extreme 2 before this one, and yes, the buttons are swapped because DS. So there's a few things we can go do, including going and looking at the high scores. I haven't been doing particularly great, but I only made the stage 4B, so whatever. You can change how many lives you have. We're going to put that up to 5, just so I look at least slightly competent. We can also change some of the screen settings, but that's mainly just turning stuff on and off, and the background brightness. That's actually a pretty useful feature. I like that, because it makes it easy to see certain bullets. You can change your name for the high scores, save and load manually, and that's pretty much it. There's not that much in the way of options. You don't really need them, because the game is actually really simple. So, we have a couple of main modes. We have the arcade mode, and we have the multiplayer. And the multiplayer doesn't actually let you play against AI for practice purposes, but we're going to go play arcade mode to start with. And thankfully we can continue from where I was, but I think we're just going to start a new game because, you know, it's nice to be able to just start a new game and go from the basics. So let's do that. First thing I want to point out is the music. Not just the graphics, but the graphics do also look fantastic, but the music. The music in this game is freaking wonderful. It fits the game to a T, and they've also done some crazy nonsense with the soundtrack that makes it sound like it's in sync with the bullet firing and enemies being destroyed sounds, and it also is wonderful. But yes, this is Space Invaders Extreme. I should probably explain some of the gameplay. So, the idea of the game is that it's basically a retelling of the same basic gameplay. Invaders get closer to the screen over time, and you have to shoot them with extreme prejudice. I approve of this because Space Invaders are dicks. So, you need to shoot them, obviously, but they have added some extra stuff in the way of gameplay mechanics. You can see that certain enemies are different colors now. Why is my phone going off now, of all times? But yes, you can see that they've added some things, including enemy colors. And enemy colors, when you shoot 4 of the same color, you will get a power-up. There are several power-ups. There is the bomb, the spread shot, the laser, and the shield. Although the shield doesn't really play into as much of the game as you might think, but it's all pretty obvious. You do also have an exclusive weapon power-up in this mode alone in the Fever mode alone for some reason, which I'll get to explain very shortly. And that is the line gun. I don't know exactly how to describe it. It's basically just, you fire into one side and you blow the shit out of everything in that line. In that row, I should say. That's what the game calls it. They call it a row. There are also columns, and you also get bonuses for finishing off columns and rows, which is actually a really nice feature, and I appreciate it quite a bit. For multiple reasons, and we'll get to them. But yes, once you get 4 of a certain kind of enemy, you get the power up. But if you get 4 of different colors, So say you get 4 red and then you get 4 blue. Once you do that, a flashing UFO will fly across the top of the screen, and if you shoot it, it starts up Fever. Well, it starts up a Fever challenge, or a Fever round. And if you manage to pull this challenge off successfully, and they are usually quite obvious, but they also do tell you, like, the requirements for the challenge that you have to do, you'll go into Fever Time, in which you will get a powered up version of the weapon that you took into the round, and you will be able to destroy enemies very quickly for lots of points. You can die during Fever Time, so don't get complacent. The rounds, as I said, are usually pretty easy to understand. You just need to fulfill the objective. If you fail, it just puts you back out into the game itself, but again, I succeeded, so I get a super fast broad shot. There are also different kinds of patterns and things that you can go for. Like, for example, if you get 8 of... I can't remember if it's the same color or shape, but if you get 8 of the same shape... no, it's 8 of the same... Is it 8 of the same color or 8 of the same shape? It's kind of confusing, honestly. But if you get 8 of the same shape, we'll say, it actually changes the color of everything. If you get 8 of the same... Ooh, that's a real... Damn, I missed the roulette UFO. That kind of sucks. It would have been nice to show that off. Blue UFOs fire lasers. But yeah, if you get 8 of the same shape, you will get them to all change to the same color, and if you pick up pickups of the same color while holding that color, you will actually get a ton of bonus points for it. You can also get a second, more powerful version of this, which will change all of the enemies to UFOs, which will give you massive point boosts, because this game is entirely about the score attacking. Sure, it's fun as hell to go through with the fantastic music, the really bright, colorful, and flashy graphics, and just the general high speed of the gameplay itself. Sure, that's fun, but this game is entirely about the score attacking. You saw at the end of stage 1 there that I got a B rank, and the highest rank that you can get is an S rank, and trust me, you want that S rank. You do your absolute best to get that S rank. Again, the game does help you out. You get bonuses for finishing off columns and rows. Roulettes, for example, can actually get you a ton of bonus points. Like an absolute massive amount of bonus points. You have no idea just how many bonus points you can get. See, I got 8 of the same shape there, but since they were different colors, it didn't count as a change to UFO or change to all the same color. Stuff like that. But yes, you want to be going for high points as much as possible, and the game gives you ample opportunities for this. There are optimal routes through every stage. Well, that's the first one I failed on video. Oh! No, I got it at the very last second. Go me. Alright. There are optimal routes through each stage. And as you can see, I got a stage end bonus for ending on Fever Time. They actually improved this in the sequel. Hint, hint, we'll be getting to that. But yeah, there is generally an optimal way through every stage in the game, which is cool, because it gives you a lot to come back for. I found myself playing the Space Invaders Extreme demo a ton back when it was on PSP, because there were so many ways to get through that stage. That one stage they included alone, which was actually the first stage. There were so many ways to go through it, so many different ways to get points, that I eventually figured out the absolute optimal way to get through the entire stage and get an S rank. I was in Fever basically the whole time, and it was glorious. And pretty much every stage in the game has routes like this, and it is brilliant. It is honestly quite brilliant. The enemies and enemy waves in this game are also really well designed, so that you might end up putting yourself into a bad situation more often than not. They do a really good job with balancing out the way the enemies work, because there's actually a ton of different kinds of enemies. There's the small ones, there's the ones that split, there's the one that will reflect your first shot back at you that are completely invulnerable to the laser power-up. There are ones that will dive bomb the screen and will instantly kill you if you aren't careful. There are enemies like these ones here that have the shields in front of them that you need to destroy in order to actually get through to them. And some waves will go down the screen directly at you. Some enemies will find themselves doing this. The fucking staircase ones that I absolutely hate because I always end up running straight into a goddamn bullet trying to deal with their bullshit. But yeah, you get the general idea. This is what they do. And I like it. I like it a lot. They have done a fantastic job with making all of these enemies be absolutely dicks to deal with. There we go, got my color change. As a result, the game remains intensely challenging, even on the higher stages, because it goes all the way from 5A to 5D, at least in this game. So there are a lot of opportunities for the game to throw curveballs your way, just general challenging waves, and some such nonsense. Yeah, I failed that one. That was absolutely a fail. That was always my least favorite round. There are a fair few different rounds, but I gotta admit, some of the more annoying ones do tend to come up more often. Anyway, as I was saying, the game itself remains intensely challenging thanks to all of these setups. And I wouldn't have it any other way. There is another mechanic that I haven't quite talked about yet, and that is being able to hold your weapons, which is very useful in certain situations. You do also have certain situations where this will actually work against you, you know. Sometimes you'll be wanting bombs to get through as many of those bloody shield dudes as possible because they're dicks. Sometimes you'll be wanting a broad shot, but they'll be hidden behind things like lasers, and you'll be like, oh, maybe I should hold my laser just for as long as humanly possible. And of course, there's always the chain ticking down in the top left corner of the screen, I should say. So you need to be on your toes as much as humanly possible, because this game absolutely can and will throw out a curveball at you from time to time in the waves. Especially when you're playing on some of the harder difficulties, because the harder difficulties, and by the harder difficulties I mean the high difficulties I mean the harder stages. So if you're on 5D versus 5A, for example, some of these stages, man, are absolutely douches. Like, they are fully aware of how dickish they are being with some of these placements, and they do it anyway. There we go, there's the change to UFO. Points! Points for me! Nothing but the points. All of the points, please. Thank you, and good night. Definitely going to want the bomb for this, because you definitely need to blow the crap out of those shields, because they are incredibly annoying to deal with when you've got nothing but a laser. But yes, with the chain constantly ticking down in the top left corner, you want to be shooting as much as humanly possible, because the higher the chain, the more likely you are to get massive point bonuses off it. You'll do also get breaks from time to time, which is literally just everyone stops shooting except for you. Just barely got that one. That was kind of my fault. I was trying to avoid colliding into them and losing even more time, but there you go. But yes, with the chains going down in the top right there, the consistently getting harder difficulty, and just the general quality of the layouts of the levels and the designs, and even the bosses. The bosses are kind of ridiculous, but I like them because they're cool. The bosses are really cool. They're big, they're massive, they're unique takes on the way that Space Invaders works. And I enjoy them quite a bit. Just overwhelming creativity on some of them, man. It gets better in the later stages, and yeah, I kind of did that to myself there, didn't I? It gets better in the later stages, I will admit. And the bosses are actually made harder, depending on whether or not you get to a lower branch. I played that boss on the 4B, on the 3B branch, and he had a second phase, which was harder. Now, I got a choice here. That's a black guy, so kind of racist. But yeah, that's a black alien up there, but if I just hold off on my laser for just long enough, I can go straight into the round. Very useful. But yeah, Space Invaders Extreme is fantastic. We'll finish this one stage here, then we'll go play the multiplayer. I won't spoil the entire game for you, but I will say a couple of other things about it. The game does have a bunch of stages. It goes all the way down to 5D in your traditional branching system. So the game definitely does have a fair bit of replayability thanks to all of the different stages having different layouts and therefore being very challenging. Trust me, those later stages are a bitch to get through even on the best of playthroughs. Thankfully, if you run out of lives, the game will literally just let you start back up on the stage you are on. This kind of sucks in this game, mainly because they don't actually let you start back at the boss if you die. At least, I think this was a thing in the first Space Invaders Extreme. They actually make you restart the whole stage again. Kind of annoying, but there you go. And once you have beaten the main game, there is a separate unlockable set of stages called the Extreme Mode, and the Extreme Mode is an utter dick. It is obviously the hardest set of stages in the game, and it rocks your world without so much as a how do you do. It can be honestly kind of frustrating. I don't think even when I finished, like, it took me a gargantuan amount of effort to finish stage 5D in this game, and I was never able to get past like stage 3 on Extreme. That's just how hard it can get. So there is a fair amount of content, and that's not including the multiplayer, which I plan on showing off. Music is banging. Banging. I feel like I'm trying to appropriate a young kid's term by saying banging there. Let's do this carefully. Grab the laser. Sweep him for good measure and points. The music in this game was actually composed by Untitled, who did the music for Darius Burst. So there's probably a reason why I enjoy it so much. What? Oh, almost missed the laser there. Almost. And I probably should have tried to miss that one, in all honesty. Yeah, let's grab the broad shots, why not? Hey, color change. Sweet. Oh, great. Well, thankfully that was the end of him. We might get to find out whether or not you actually restart on the boss. Oh, I remember this one. They actually did this one better in Space Invaders Extreme 2. So grab the laser and hold on to it. Yeah, we do. Oh, right. They actually changed how the lasers work in this one. Completely forgot about that, so just fire up at him and completely miss. Okay, you then. Only got one shot in, brilliant. Yep, I just wanted right into that one. What happens if I hit retry? Yep, I'm put all the way back here. That's good enough for me.
Space Invaders Extreme.
So if you just go to the stage mode, you can see, yep, that's your stage branches right there. The furthest I made it on the last time I tried to play was 4B, but that's because I've kind of lost my touch over the years. I haven't had time to play Space Invaders Extreme, which kind of sucks for me. So we can even go and practice here, the multiplayer mode, which works basically the same way as your old-fashioned multiplayer mode does. There are a couple of slight differences, however. It is like the Tetris games, for example, that also share multiplayer, where you can attack your enemy by shooting a UFO once you have a good build-up of defeated enemies up in the top right there. What exactly makes a build up like that? I'm not entirely sure. Although I'm guessing by the look of it that it is the same shape. Which is an interesting concept. Probably shoot a UFO and send them down through. Didn't actually send them through. Maybe they come through on the next wave or something. But yeah, basically you just send through enemies and you gotta try and outlast the opponent. It's very simple. I believe that the Xbox 360 version of this let you play this mode online. On the PSP and the DS, you could only play this ad hoc, which is fine. It's just a little bit surprising they didn't actually let you do it on the PC version online because they added an always online requirement for some reason, which immediately got cracked. I actually keep up with this sort of thing, so yeah, hearing that the game was immediately cracked didn't really help it out, but there you go. It's a shame they took the multiplayer mode out entirely. You could have at least let us play on the same screen. Like, even in 480 by 272, like, the player who was playing on the screen on the right, which is the smaller one, could probably play realistically on that one just fine, but then again, who am I to talk? I'm wearing bloody glasses right now. But yes, the multiplayer mode is fine. It'd be nice if the bot mode was a little bit harder, but surprise, surprise, this is something they also fixed for the sequel. A lot of button mashing going on there, but there you go. So that was Space Invaders Extreme. You know what's coming, don't ya?
Space Invaders Extreme 2.
Right, I forgot I turned down the volume on this one as well. Goddamn, alright. That ought to do it. So, yeah. We're doing this one as well, because why the hell not? We're here, let's do it. So, Space Invaders Extreme 2 is basically the same concept, but they made it a lot better. With that said, let's go and take a look around. You got the same sort of settings you've got here, so nothing particularly wrong with it. You can't even turn off the screen gap, which is actually a really nice feature. Notably, I have kept it on the default, and I've put my DS emulator in the right sort of way, just to kind of give you an idea, although I could realistically, if I wanted to, get rid of the screen gap entirely, which is actually a really nice feature for the people who are playing this on emulators and don't want to fiddle around with that crap, but I like playing it with a little bit of warning, so there you go. Again, I originally played this way back when the DS was actually still a viable platform, so, you know, I'm kind of used to the idea of there being a gap between the screens. So we've got a few things we can do here. We got stage select, because of course we do, and we can do it for both score attack and time attack, which is actually a really interesting concept. Being able to go through the stages as fast as humanly possible instead of actually going for score. As far as I'm aware, the stages are actually the same, so we're just going to do regular old score attack. There is a beginner mode, a extreme mode, and of course just the regular old mode, which is what we're going to do. Beginners and extreme are just linear, just like extreme was linear back in the original game, so we're just going to hit up normal.
Stand by. Ready?
And it starts out very similar, but there's a couple of things different. For one, there's this. Yes, they are taking advantage of the DS's screens quite efficiently, in my personal opinion. And honestly, it's the one thing that makes this game really stand out over its predecessor, because thanks to the fact that they've got 2 guaranteed screens now, it makes the whole experience that much better, because they took advantage of it in some really interesting ways. This is absolutely one of them, but there are definitely more things to it. So, yes, being able to play out the theme stages on the top and have the waves below you actually make a difference is very interesting indeed. And not to mention Fever Mode having 2 different sets of scoring methods. So it's actually a really neat idea, because it actually lets you skip waves just like you do in the regular game, but how many waves you skip is determined on your performance both above and below. But at the same time, if you're just going for the skips on the top, you're not going to be going for the... If you're just going for the skips on the bottom, you're not going to be going for the UFOs on the top, and the UFOs are actually worth more points in general, but you can also get both points from destroying and points from grabbing the items from the destroying. So it's just more complicated, it gives you more stuff to do, and it gives you more opportunities for points. This actually makes the score attacking a bit more intense, because as you can see, I needed 1,000,000 points to get a rank S in the original stages, but in this game, 2 million points isn't even enough for a rank. That's how much we've inflated the value of score in this game, but frankly, everything fits so well with the new screens and all that I love it. With the dual screens and all that I love it. So this is Bingo Fever. So Fever and regular Fever works exactly how you expect it to. It's the same waves, but it's the same waves, but you've got the UFOs and shit to shoot up top. In this game, we get a Bingo Fever. It gets way more interesting, because the waves are predetermined, and you're usually given a really powerful weapon that can sweep right through them without so much as a how do you do. And there's also a purple UFO to shoot up top, which will give you even more points. So it makes things really interesting in that respect, because it gives you even more shit to shoot for. But since the waves are predetermined, you can go almost robotic and get massive amounts of points if you know exactly what you're doing. And I love it. It's a really clever way to do it. But I haven't quite gone over the Bingo Fever yet, have I? Bingo Fever up the top there. You can see that I am currently working my way towards a blue and a blue. And that'll start up a round. And if I finish that round, I fill out the space on the bingo square. And if I manage to fill out a complete line of 3, I get a bingo challenge, which is significantly harder. You already saw it. It is entirely possible to get double and triple bingo. And it gets even more intense and ridiculous with It gets even more intense and ridiculous with both the rounds and the fever. And it is absolutely wonderful. I've gotten a 3-line fever once. Throughout my years of playing Space Invaders Extreme 2, I've gotten a 3-line fever once. And it looks, sounds, and just generally is glorious. It is amazing. It is the best thing to come out of Space Invaders since the original Space Invaders. It is wonderful to get a 3-line fever. You have to actively work towards it, and the challenge that you have to do is so incredibly hard, even by Space Invaders Extreme standards, that you get so few chances to actually pull it off. But once you do, you feel like a god. And of course, that's not talking about the game's fantastic presentation. Admittedly, the DS version of Space Invaders Extreme actually looked a little whack next to the PSP version. The PSP version just had some more room to stretch its legs. However, with the DS version of Space Invaders Extreme 2, which is the only version that exists, by the way, there's no PSP version, which is why I'm doing it. Which is why I'm doing the PSP version here. It makes things slightly more interesting to deal with. Because since they only have this to work with... Crap, I'm gonna have to go for these guys when they turn red, aren't I? Great, they're not going to turn red anytime they're actually going to be out and ready to shoot. Black. Alright, there we go, changed UFO. I'll explain what I was talking about with that shortly, but yeah. Just the general graphical presentation of Space Invaders Extreme 2 is actually way improved over its DS predecessor. It just looks that much nicer, which I really appreciate, because they clearly put a lot more effort into making this game look the part, and it works really well for it. They really did put the DS's graphical hardware to the best use they could. I'm just trying to make sure that I actually fill in something on the bingo square with this challenge. As you can see, actually a little bit harder. The the bingo squares actually add a lot more challenge to the game, because again, as I said before, you actively need to be planning if you want to get anything close to good in this mode, which I love. It's such a brilliant little tweak on the concept, but it works really, really well. And it makes me incredibly disappointed they never followed up Space Invaders Extreme 2 with a Space Invaders Extreme like Rainbow or something, which was something they actually offered you in the first game as a bonus. It was something that actually offered you in the first game as a bonus if you were destroying the very last enemy as they were going for a final charge. Like this guy here. Oh yeah, they also offer you it in this game as well, but yeah. It disappoints me they never followed it up with a sequel, because I would have loved to have seen how they followed up the idea of the bingo panel with something else on a more capable system. There are some other things to point out as well. They have actually made the shield power-up a viable option, because now the shield actually determines whether or not you get certain bonuses. You can't get 8 shield power-ups in a row, but you can get 4 in a shield, and then 4 of another color. And they'll get you anything from change to UFO, to the roulette, to a potential extra life, to, you get the general idea. It makes it so that you actually have options related to the shield, instead of the shield just being there to kind of screw you. Which I appreciate. Shield in this game is also quite useful because this game is actually way harder. They have absolutely taken advantage of the fact that they have absolutely taken advantage of the idea that this game is harder than its predecessor.
Let's do it.
Yep, this is the 2 lines challenge. You know what? I get the feeling I'm going to screw this up, so let's save my state so that we can actually come back to this if I fail it. I understand that's making me look like a bit of a weakling, but I'd like to show off a 2 lines challenge. Never mind, I actually did manage to pull it off. 2 lines fever. It lasts for longer. There's more pink UFOs. There's more of everything. My shots are way wider. I am generally more of a god. Kings among men. Tons of points.
Don't let the enemy freak you out.
What's the boss this time? Oh, it's this guy! Remember how I said they did the same concept as that other boss I fought in Space Invaders Extreme 1, but better? This is what I meant. So, you can shoot this guy directly in his open face, but there's another way to do it. Take advantage of the fact that you can reflect shots. I really do prefer this concept over the way the other game did it. The bosses just have more room to be creative due to the fact that they can actually take advantage of the extra screen space. I decided to originally play Space Invaders Extreme for the channel. I actually did a video of it before, but it came out really bad, even by my standards, so I decided not to actually put it up on the channel, because surprise, surprise, I actually do have standards. But they announced that they're actually, and by they, I mean Taito Corporation, announced they're actually doing a collection of Space Invaders games, and one of them is actually going to be the original Space Invaders Extreme, so I'm hoping that I can at least draw a little attention to the fact that not only does Space Invaders Extreme 2 exist, but it's the better game by default. It really is. It's got the same sort of concepts that made the original game work so well, but multiplied to really up the score attack purposes, and of course you've also got time attack if you're into that sort of thing. I'm personally not, but it's still kind of nice with the idea that in Space Invaders, in the score attack mode, you can play to the strengths of getting score, as in trying to get things like 2-line fevers and multi-line fevers and just stuff like that, right? Rank S, fuck yeah. But in time attack mode, you can go for things like fevers as fast as humanly possible and just try and beat the shit out of the clock, which is cool. It's another way to play the game. I can appreciate that. And they could pretty easily port Space Invaders Extreme 2 to other platforms. They just need to take out the screen gap. That's all they really need to do. Take out the screen gap and make it so that the entire game is basically just one really tall screen. That's all they really need to do, and they have a perfectly fine port of Space Invaders Extreme 2. I wonder if there's some kind of licensing reason that prevents them from handling it that way. If there is, I'll be disappointed, because, yeah, this is the better game by a significant margin. I'm not going to say by far, because it definitely needed to build on what made Space Invaders Extreme 1 great in order to actually, like, be a reasonable game in and of itself. but it's clearly made massive improvements and strides over Space Invaders Extreme 1 that it absolutely does deserve to be the more remembered game. It probably isn't purely because of the idea that Space Invaders Extreme 2 didn't actually sell that well, as far as I know. It did okay, but it did not sell that well in the grand scheme of things, which is disappointing. I think the DS was pretty close to the end of its life at that point, and also Space Invaders Extreme 2 didn't get anywhere near as much fanfare as the original did. Like, I only found out that Space Invaders Extreme 2 existed because it turned up on a pirate site. That was how I found out about it. So, yeah, I was kind of disappointed in that. Clearly they weren't giving it as much attention. Damn it. I was holding the R button so the shield didn't come out. The shield came out just too slowly. Alright, let's see what... Damn it, I didn't realize those guys in the background were color shifters. I was going to say, let's see what comes out when it's black and red, but unfortunately wasn't going to get the opportunity there. I'm really not playing that efficiently, I admit, but I got 1 S rank this video, and I am proud of that. I'm proud of being able to do that while actually talking about the game, even though I've already gone through most of the stuff I want to talk about with Space Invaders Extreme 2, and yeah. Yep, hold the power up and use it efficiently to get... Never mind. Oh man, I didn't even see that one come. I wasn't even looking at the bottom screen. But anyway, we'll go play the multiplayer mode in this one because that actually exists. And when we do that, we'll call this video to an end. But yeah, this does have an extreme mode unlockable once you finish the game, so there is still plenty of longevity to go for it here. I believe this one also did... Excuse me. I believe this one also does let you play over Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, or should I say it did, because that service has been dead for literally years at this point. Thankfully, they do actually let you choose a difficulty for the computer opponent, so let's just go on hard and get my shit wrecked, because why not? Yeah, I kind of got a head start on me there. That's kind of bullshit. Admittedly, one of the things they actually added in this mode specifically is Fever Time. They legitimately added Fever Time to this mode, and it's fantastic. I never actually paid that much attention to how the rules in this game actually work, because, you know, I never actually played the multiplayer. I was always one for the score attack. I fucking missed it anyway. Put in so much effort to actually get the Fever UFO to go across the top of my screen. Still didn't fucking hit it. Oh, there we go. Actually got the Fever. But yeah, as you can see, Fever in this game is actually a thing. And there's also a Rainbow UFO and yeah, just... It's just about as nuts. And wow, I actually got my shit wrecked. And he hasn't even lost a life yet. Although he has to deal with a gigantic fucking UFO, so... Sure, I'll take that. I'll take that. But yeah, I believe they also re-released just this mode as a separate downloadable DSi game called Space Invaders Extreme Z. That's if I'm remembering correctly. I might not be, but I think that's what Space Invaders Extreme Z was. I don't think I ever bought that. I did have a DSi at the time, I just never bought it. But yeah, I appreciate this game's multiplayer mode a lot more for being just that little bit extra bit in depth. He still hasn't lost a life yet. Jesus. Okay, this is actually more challenging than I remember. hold the power up. Get the Fever UFO. That wasn't a Fever UFO? Okay. It's a big UFO, though. I'm guessing that might mean a... Ooh. He lost 1 life. I'll take that. That was hard difficulty, and I wasn't paying the most attention. So, yeah. That was a look at... What was that? I've seen that before. Damn it, I don't even know what that is. God, I never actually go to, like, exit on this menu, because it's a DS game, you just turn it off, right? But, yeah, never seen that before. So, that was a look at Space Invaders Extreme 1 and 2. They are both fantastic score attack titles. I absolutely love the pair of them. Space Invaders Extreme 2 is the better game, and thankfully, due to the fact that it's a DS game, it'll run on a toaster, so if you feel like emulating it, it's really easy to pick up. Just turn the screen gap to 0 and you're golden. But, yeah, both of them are absolutely worth your time, even the slightly nerfed one that's on PC. And, yeah, I highly recommend the pair of them. They are both great. This has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.